Hello, good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well and you can see me and hear me on your screens. If you can you please respond with a yes in the chat box so that we know that you can hear us and see us on the screen? A very good evening, students. Please respond with a yes in the chat box if you can hear us and see us on your screens. All right, thank you, Shreya. Sumedha, thank you so much. Thank you, Raghavendra. Likith, thank you. Shambhavi, thank you. Manas, perfect. Good evening, Sumedha. All right, lots of yeses coming in. Good evening, Himanshi. Perfect. So more and more people are joining us, and as we go by, let's just understand a few rules before we begin. Like any other platform, Webinar Jam is a technology-driven platform, so there might be a little bit of an audio or video lag, but don't worry, don't fret about it. If you have any kind of lag that you see on your screen, whether with the audio or the video, all that you need to do is press reconnect button at the top of your screens, and you should be able to hear us and see us just fine. Please also a general request to all of you would be to please use the chat box option judiciously, which is to be able to ask questions from our panelists. And also if they ask you a certain amount of questions, to be able to give responses to those questions. The chat box is an ideal platform. With that thought, a very good evening yet again. And today let's discuss the topic for today, which is how does the pandemic and the policies being implemented in the US mean for your admissions in the States? Now, a lot of confusion has been brought about with the pandemic all across the world. Education systems are dealing with it in a much better manner. They're dealing in a very different manner. Some of the universities and countries have begun with online processes, online education, while some of them are waiving off requirements for eligibility. Traditionally, United States has been one of those destinations which holds aspirations for a lot of students across the world. There are a couple of reasons behind this. One is, of course, the excellent education that's given in that particular area, and also the fact that US presents the opportunities for internships, for placements, for real life learning, and for more practical learning. And that's exactly what we're going to discuss today, which is how this ongoing situation of the pandemic and the kind of policies that the universities and the countries are implementing mean for your admissions, your policies, your admission criteria to the undergrad and postgrad programs. With that thought, let me introduce the panelists for today. We have Ms. Sonali Mohan and Ms. Shalu. So educator, teacher, mentor, and author Sonali Mohan and Shalu are Harvard and College Board certified admissions counselors. With a rich experience of more than 25 years, they have successfully guided umpteen number of students studying at top universities in the US and other countries. They've authored the comprehensive step-by-step guide to US undergraduate admissions and the updated version, which has helped numerous parents and children in understanding the finer nuances of the US admissions process. Welcome, Sonali. Welcome, Shalu. We're thrilled to have you on board. And we look forward to having the impeccable insights that you could provide. I'll also welcome Adarsh, who happens to be the co-founder of Collegeify, and his enthusiasm, his expertise in building Collegeify has been recognized industry-wide. My name is Dipankar, and I lead the international education practice at Mindler. And today we're all going to discuss and present our thoughts on how does the admission process in the US in this year and the coming years is going to look like. So Shalu and Sonali, I'll open the floor to you guys. But before I do that, I want to talk about certain queries that come to me as a counselor. One general query is that what will happen to education in the US? Now, many universities, for example, are taking some way out. On one end, University of California, Berkeley, for example, or the entire UC system has said that we don't need SAT or we don't need ACT until 2024. And a lot of universities are kind of exploring medium of education is online. Whereas something like, on the other hand, something like an NYU would say that I will still welcome students to my campus in the fall. So a lot of confusion, a lot of ambiguity, a lot of uncertainty lies in the process of how universities carry out their admissions and how they plan to carry out their engage the students in their studies. So a lot of confusion comes across from students and the parents whether it's a worthwhile option now to apply to the States or not. That's one. A second thing that often comes by as questions is, should I be looking at SAT prep? Should I be looking at ACT prep? Does my profile need to be more strengthened now? Does it need to be less strengthened now? Are universities going to take into consideration my academic scores a little more carefully, a little more with scrutiny than they were doing so earlier, because the SAT is not required anymore? If I take the APs, if I don't take the APs, how will that affect my profile? So a lot of questions around profile building are also coming up from students. And more importantly, what's coming up in the mind of students and parents is that, given the finances and the kind of expenses that university admissions, university education in the US brings along, how viable, how feasible is that idea now that scholarship trends are also going to be affected across the country? So those are some points that I wanted to bring to the table for your insights, and then I look forward to your answers of how you respond to them and the insights that you kind of bring to the floor. Over to you guys, Shalu and Sonali.
Thank you. So here we begin. Is it visible?
The PPT?
Yeah.
Do you need some support to carry on the presentation?
The PPT is not visible.
So it's begun. You could control it from the bottom of the screen. There's a button called Next. You can control it from there.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Perfect.
So good evening, everybody. I'm Sonali, and I'm the head editor at Collegify. And the same issues which have been raised by many of you and your parents are a matter of concern to all of us. And we've made this very small, brief PowerPoint, which is going to take you through the processes of international education. Some things remain unchanged, so we have talked about them. And then we'll be going on to the section about the changes and how you need to react to that. Yeah, next. Yeah. So quickly, who we are. We are an international education consulting company. We have been in this education stream for more than 10 years. Our students have received over $20 million in scholarship this year alone, and we're located in Kolkata and Delhi. And needless to say, I think we have sent students across a spectrum of universities across the world. So quickly, again, to refurbish, why do we study abroad? So institutes with long history of academic excellence. Oxford University's first college, Christchurch, actually started somewhere in the 12th century. And Harvard, which all of you, these are names you're familiar with, actually started in 1635. So needless to say, these are countries which have invested in the concept of education, and they still retain their position of excellence in any ranking system across the world, year after year, decade after decade. Research opportunities, experiential learning, undergraduate research is easily available. That is something even the IITs in India do not offer. And each classroom, there is an academic component or a classroom component, and then you have the facility for research, seminars, engagement with the industry, which continues as the classroom experience. Once you leave home and you're really, really far, it is actually your first step towards adulthood and all the maturity and the experience which bring with it. So independent living, cultural expansion, and adaptability. Since you're in a place where you are mixing with a cross-section of students from across the world, your international networking gets better and you're better prepared to work in a global environment. You also bring back fresh perspective to family businesses. There is limited seats in ranked Indian institutes, and it is a study abroad experience, especially in the United States, is a life-enhancing experience with a high return on what we call experience. Nowhere in the world does the academic journey actually prepare you to explore the length and breadth of academics and, evolve as a human being as well. So there was a little survey which was done a couple of years back, positive impact of the study abroad. The students who took part in the survey, these are the outcomes. They believed, one, it served as a catalyst for increased maturity, because the first time in your life and you're far away from home, and it's a free environment. You have your classes scheduled, you have your rooms, but the need to reach the classroom entirely lies upon you. There will be no reminders from your mom, dad, no reminders from the professors. Nobody's really going to ask you. So you actually start taking responsibility for all your activities. You acquire skill sets that influence your career paths. So the beauty of the US education is that it's a liberal, what we call a liberal education spread over 4 years, where you get to explore a cross section of subjects and the related activities. So you really have a very, very a wide skill set which you can imbibe and which really impacts your career path. If you really notice, if I do a small cross-check of the last 100 years, major innovations have come out of the academic campuses in the United States. Better understanding of your own values and basis, and that's the way it goes. The popular destinations for students from India are US, UK, Canada, Singapore, and Hong Kong. Australia and New Zealand have also recently entered the radar, so has Europe. But US definitely has the largest component of students going from India. The preferred choice of country is the United States. Each country has and adhere to specific deadlines. All applications require external examinations, and financial aid scholarships vary for international students from country to country. Next, Shahrukh. Yeah. So what really is required? What does a profile comprise of? So we've put it in this little graph, which you can see. Firstly, your academic performance. You are going abroad for an academic course to universities which excel in academics. Needless to say, your academic in schools really count. And extracurricular pursued over a number of years. So when the US looks at profile building, they're looking at things like commitment. They're also looking at your passion. You're not passionate about guitar 1 year and the violin next year, and then a jazz dance the 3rd year, and maybe something like a math project the 4th year. You have to display or demonstrate one extracurricular activity which you have pursued over a large number of years. Participation in activities in school or outside school which give you an opportunity to represent school, state, nationals, internationals, and the variety of activities, the entire sporting arena. There are quizzes, there are science exhibitions, and things like that. Ranking in the Olympiads, NTSE, and the other examinations. Standardized tests, the SAT, ACT, TOEFL, and IELTS, they remain important. Even if it is said optional, please understand it is very rarely considered optional for international students. It's your one way to tell the country of your choice, and especially the United States, that you are interested in their in the academics which are there, and it's an opportunity to demonstrate your aptitudes towards their academics. Demonstrated leadership, of course, if you are interested in, say, maybe robotics, you start an activity in class 9, and by the end of class 12 you should be able to be heading the robotics club or the drama club, or maybe the head girl or the sports girl or extracurricular activity head. So whatever leadership opportunities may be which may be available in your school, please do ensure that you're working towards achieving that honor from class 9 onwards. Community service, your ability to engage with your immediate community in terms of social service, in terms of teaching the underprivileged, or during this COVID times, what have you done to help your neighborhood, all count, and they have a whole lot of weightage. US is one country which has really perfected the art of philanthropy, and they believe that your engagement with your community, and your first community is actually a school and your neighborhood, you should be able to demonstrate the ability to go and make efforts to make living more favorable and sustainable there. A degree in arts or photography or fashion requires a portfolio. A research-based project is a plus, especially for science students and economic and business students. And that is when your profile is complete, and you're ready for the holistic admission procedure. So very quickly about USA, many of you may be familiar, but there may be some who are not. So I've briefly described the requirements for each country. So undergraduate degree is 4 years. The applications open in August. Deadlines are from December to January. It's got a flexible curriculum, 900 fields across 4,000 universities. It is interdisciplinary. You can combine subjects from the science and humanities. You can even enter college without declaring what you want to study. In fact, the undecided major is one of the most popular majors in the US application system. The annual cost is available, I mean, it's 40 to 50 lakhs per annum, and the state universities are slightly lower. Yeah, Shalu? So how do you get there? We've already discussed what your profile should look like. So we've just made a slide, a diagram or a graphic which shows you what kind of weightage you require. So high school grades is 50% of the application. The testing, which is the SAT-1, ACT, the SAT-2, IELTS, TOEFL, and the APs, if your counselor believes it is necessary for you, will comprise 30% weightage. And then, of course, it is all the rest of it, which is your projects, leadership, internships, community engagement, and your essays. So this is how the weightage is distributed. United Kingdom, it's a single form which you can apply to maximum 5 universities. The applications begin mid-September, mid-October deadline for Oxford and Cambridge, and you can only apply to one, not both. 15 January deadline for most courses. One statement of purpose, additional essays may be required. Test of English language, IELTS is the preferred, but some colleges have started accepting TOEFL. Letter of reference or recommendation, the average cost is 25 to 30 lakhs. Possibly the most important factor here is something called conditional offers, which means when you're in class 12, you'll finish your filling the form anytime before December. You will send your application form to the university. The university will say, we would love to have you, but you need to maintain your grades in a particular manner, which is dependent on the predicted marks which your school will be sending. By chance in your board examinations, you do not get those marks, your admission will be re-signed or cancelled. And they're very strict about it. Yeah. Canada, forms available from September, deadlines are from January to March, TOEFL is required. There are some universities like Waterloo, Toronto, Queens, which fall under a certain a common application form called the OUAC. McGill and British Columbia have individual forms. The number of essays vary from college to college and course to course. And like England, these two have conditional offers. Hong Kong, the top universities are HKU, HKUST, and City University. The forms available from September. Deadlines are from November to March. Essays or statement of purpose required for most majors. Admissions is confirmed after the final results are sent. If they are conditional too. Singapore, top universities, NTU, NUS, Yale, NUS, SMU. Forms available from September. Deadlines are in March. Essays or an SOP required for most majors. Admission is confirmed after the final results are sent. It is conditional and it is quite difficult to get into Singapore. So brief discussion of what kind of financial aid, merit scholarships are available. The most important criteria is your school academic and your USA offers need-based financial aid as well as merit scholarships. Canada offers merit scholarships, school nominations. Singapore offers merit scholarship. They also have an option that you can sign a bond to work in a Singapore-based company for 3 to 6 years. Hong Kong offers merit scholarships, 97% and above. Usually they were offering 100% coverage. So quickly to introduce e-learning through the Collegify and Mindler way. Collegify along with Mindler have devised a completely online platform which helps you go through your SAT and ACT coaching in the convenience from home. It is one of the first systems to have machine learning tools that enables personal growth, the data analytics that monitors your performance and suggests and modules and strategies for score enhancement. The analytics will be working to give each one of you a very, very personal analytics. It will be able to point out to you which segment you are lacking in and subsequently suggest more modules so that you can practice and increase your score. Reports, score predictions, and learning diagnostics, 400 plus topic specific worksheets, 250 plus interactive video lessons, 20 plus official mocks. Score improvement is guaranteed, and it is supported by regular pre-scheduled online classes taught by your experienced and qualified faculty. And taking the SAT has a great advantage. There are a number of Indian universities accepting the SAT, and I've put up some of the names up, and you will be seeing that more and more universities will be joining this platform. As you are aware, with the new education policy, which has just been presented to the parliament, they are talking about a common admission examination to enter universities, which will be along the lines of the SAT and the ACT. So understanding US admissions under the shadow of the pandemic. Pandemics are not really new. There's a history behind it. 100 years back in 1918, the Spanish flu, which was first observed in Europe, it went on to the United States and parts of Asia. It impacted US for almost a complete year. Stanford University, in fact, isolated anyone affected by the flu and ordered students to wear flu masks at all times, while colleges like Smith, Pomona, UNC, amongst others, took measures to manage the epidemic and the education. Since 2000, we were lucky in India that we actually escaped the impact of measles, Ebola, SARS, MERS. But since 2000, colleges around the world have shut down over outbreaks of measles and Ebola, SARS, and MERS. The United States, in fact, formulated a pandemic plan in 2006, which encouraged colleges and universities to create a preparedness for respiratory pandemics. In response, many colleges had created epidemic plans, which included continuity of instruction policies. And therefore, when the coronavirus outbreak, really kicked in March, the colleges shut down for the spring break, and they were able to resume online education within 2 weeks. It actually came uninterrupted, which is something India really struggled to do. So what makes the response to COVID-19 different from the earlier pandemics? One, the availability of technology. With your smartphones, or you can almost access online platforms from anywhere across the country. And it just made it very simple to transition into the online format. There was very limited disruption in the learning process, and your work or your progress towards your final degree stands unimpacted. Students could go home because of the online presence and continue their education from a safe environment. Many universities offered classes in more than one time zone or made recordings of the classes available. Course books were shared digitally as well. Singapore, Hong Kong, US, Canada, and UK migrated to online classes for the current session with no impact on their degrees. There has been no disruption to new admission processes as college adopt technology to engage and interact with curious and interested students. Webinars and chat rooms have become common platforms to connect with the colleges and universities. So what are the current modalities of US admission? Standardized testing, SAT, ACT, TOEFL, IELTS, and others. Many colleges have made standardized testing optional. However, for an international student, taking the standardized test is highly recommended. I've just gone through the SAT and the ACT dates, and I found we have almost 5 SAT dates available for international students till December and 4 ACT. So if you get the opportunity to take the exam, you must do so. The test of English language, which is TOEFL or IELTS, is mandatory, and you will need to check individual colleges for further details when you start making your college list and start filling the form. Application deadlines. The US has multiple decision deadlines, early decision and early action. The decision is you will have to finish your application by 1st of November. And the regular decision deadlines, they all remain as per individual college protocols. There has been no change so far. The November 1st and the December 31st or January 15 deadlines, and we are not expecting any changes.
I think there's an issue there. So, okay. As we were, Shanali was saying, yeah, Shanali, are you back?
I think, Shalu,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
you want
back.
to take it?
You can't
Okay,
hear?
okay.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you back in between. Yeah.
Okay, the early decision is the decision deadline available for the US colleges, for some of the US colleges, which is 1st November, which means you need to complete your application and all requirements by 1st of November. College or the college they want to study to exercise this option if it is available. The chances of getting a confirmed seat, provided you meet the requirements, is quite high. As of now, no changes have been intimated by any other country. The other thing we really need to keep in mind when they're making college lists, that the actual numbers for admission will be impacted, because many students this year have taken deferrals for 1 year, because majority of the colleges are online, or even if they're offering a mixed campus requirement, the embassy is not yet opened here. So we have to be very judicious. Along with your counselor, you have to be very judicious about how you build up your college list. Scholarship and financial aid, it actually varies from college to college and university to university. We believe that the slowdown generated by the pandemic will have an impact on the same. It is important and it would be practical right now. We will only be sure about the extent of the impact maybe next year or beginning of 2021. So it is important that you should now start, especially students who are applying this year, start looking at available loans and credit facilities so that you have some kind of backup. We are not too sure. US by far is the most generous country and they really believe in the diversity of the campus. So there won't be a drastic cut, but definitely the pandemic has caused unemployment right across. There will be some kind of impact, at least for this year. Modalities of education delivery for the fall semester, there are 2-3 options which the US has already spelled out. A few are offering only online instruction. Your classes will begin by the 3rd week of August and it will be online. Some are offering a hybrid model of in-person and online, which means you can go to your campus and they will offer you at least one class per week within a classroom situation. And there are other campuses which are offering rotational presence of student, which means they're just possibly calling the first years and the final years for the fall semester, which is between August and December, and they will call the remaining 2 years for the spring semester if the situation does not improve. And even when you're on campus, you will be following a hybrid model, which means one class compulsory a week will be in person. All group-related activities like sports, theater, clubs now stand cancelled. There is no dining space open, so it will work like a takeout counter. To counteract the impact of COVID and to prevent an outbreak, they are actually working very hard at minimizing the congregation of students at any one place. The other countries are still in the process of defining their format. The student visa and travel implications. So I've just given a brief about what exactly the visa you require before I tell you what the implications are. So the students who travel for their undergraduate studies to the US go on something called the F1 visa. It is given for students who are pursuing a full-time study at an educational institute recognized by the US government. So once you accept an offer in admission, the university will send you a relevant certificate of eligibility form called the I-20. Effectively, this document is your proof of registration with a specific college. The I-20 contains all details of the student, the program you're going for, the duration of the program, along with the sponsoring college details. The I-20, along with other documents, have to be presented in person at the embassy before you are issued an F1 visa. So what are the changes which has come to the F1 visa? For new admission, the issuing of the I-20 is dependent on the kind of program which is being offered by your college or university. Only colleges offering a hybrid program can issue an I-20. So this is specifically for new students. If a university or college is not offering a hybrid program, which is one class per week, which is in the classroom situation, they will not be issuing an I-20. Students who are admitted to colleges offering only an online model of education are not eligible for the visa. The US consulate is yet to start functioning in India, so in the coming weeks we will expect to have some more clarity. Existing students. The students who have a stamped F1 visa, if you're already in the US, you're permitted to remain there regardless of the fact whether your classes are online or on hybrid. However, students out of the country, or the fact that students who returned home in March or May, you will now require a new I-20, which clearly states that the university is adopting a hybrid model for the semester. However, you will expect some tough questions at the immigration because they're really curious about why you would want to come from a country which, the pandemic is at the highest rates in India right now and is expected to be next 1 month. And even the US is, they're still to settle down the US. So there will be some kind of tough questioning in the immigration. However, if you have the I-20 from your college, which says that the college has shifted to a hybrid model, you can enter the United States. United Airlines is flying out of Delhi and few other cities, and they are taking students who have existing F1 visas. Other countries, student visas are dependent on the individual colleges and the embassy status in our country. Take into consideration the quarantine rules of your destination country, city, and the limited availability of flights. The impact on recruitment and internship opportunities. The pandemic has really turned the world upside down. It's going to take a couple of years to understand the new normal. So things have changed and the journey is slow for all sectors across all geographies, and college, university, or any kind of recruitment, there is a bit of a slowdown, and rightly so. I mean, this is something to be expected. It's almost like wartime with us fighting an unknown enemy. The pandemic has also made a very clear distinction between essential and non-essential goods and services. It has also redefined space. So home now it's school, it's a college, it's a gym, and movie theater as well. So technology has become a key driver in merging home and the outside world. So some of the sectors which are expected to see a spurt of growth are data science, literacy, analytics. Just look at the way we are actually even modeling the extent and the reach of the pandemic. It's all modeling which is based on data analytics, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, education with a huge trust on technology, agriculture, food packaging, pharma and wellness, and at-home services. As the home has become a center of activity, office, school, gym, equipment for home, you suddenly realize that 4 people maybe in a home need their individual computers. There are chefs who are working at home. They're making food for you, sending it across. There are hairdressers who come home if you allow them and give you a full spa service at home. There are therapists, physiotherapists. So home has actually become the center of our lives and existence. And most of the activities and professions are surrounding about how we can enhance our home activities to include all that we considered normal. So what the world is going to be looking for is multitaskers and who can work, multi-skilled people who can work in a variety of roles, specialization one, but generalist in others. So let's talk what is the magnetic quality of a US education. I don't know how many of you really read or gone through the points of the new education policy, but they have done exactly what US has been doing for years. Suddenly, we are having something called interdisciplinary education, which means you can choose completely disparate subjects because they believe you need to have a lateral growth of your mind as well. So maths and music, possible. So that is what US has been offering for many, many years, and they've actually mastered it. Multiple courses, multiple exit points, multiple entry points, credit system, and this is all, they have built their education where you really engage in the art of learning and not just learning for rote or for marks or any other career or so. So we constitute the second largest cohort of international students in the US with over 2 lakh students. And commenting on why Indian parents said the children abroad is an eminent Indian educationist, they're looking for the best educational experience. They know it is a lifelong asset, and Indian premier colleges do not have the capacity, are very, very rigid. And this quote is by T.V. Mohandas Pai, who's the chairman of Manipal Global Education. His own children went abroad, and I think you really, you all are all very good on the internet. Just do a little search about prominent business people, politicians, anybody. You will find that they have exercised the choice to send their children abroad to get this quality of education. US universities are built around the pursuit of excellence, respect for pedagogy, and the enhancement a diverse pool of students bring to the table. And it is exactly this core belief. The moment the US or the Trump administration upturned the F1 rule, which says that students on the F1 visa who are doing an online course have to return home, you suddenly saw universities like Harvard and MIT, along with 216 other institutes. And they were supported by top-end companies like Google, Microsoft, and Facebook, and they, succeeded in getting this law rescinded. So diversity is very important to the US academic platform, and that is why, and that has been the hallmark of the US education. So just to briefly, the role of honor, I've just given you a snapshot, and then, there are plenty of people who have used their education to chart their own journey of excellence. So the global role, I think all these names are familiar to you. In the national role, there are many people, and this is a very small snapshot. But if you go to Forbes under 30, under 40, under 50, under 60, and you go into the education profile, and you just see there are people who have had some benefit of an international education, and majority of them from the United States. So the Collegify Mindler promise, we help each of you become the best version of yourselves. Thank you. We look forward to hearing from you, and we are ready to support you and answer any of your questions or doubts which may have come onto your mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonali and Shalu, for that very crisp presentation. We do have some few questions coming in the chat box. Any particular question that struck out to you that you want to take up and answer?
Yes, I have one question asking about Oxbridge application procedure. So yeah, the Oxbridge is a little different in the sense the deadline is 15th October if you're applying to Oxbridge. So you can only apply to one, not both, and 4 other colleges in the UK. So you write your SOP and you send it by the 15th of October, submit your application, and then post that they will call you for an interview. There'll be further questions, and for certain courses there'll be further exams required, for a math exam, for CS also, and for English language also. So this is how the Oxbridge application is different from the other UK applications.
Okay, thank you so much. There's another question which says, I want to ask that in my CV, how many certificates should I give? So question on profile building. What kind of profile works for the UK? What kind of profile works for the US? And what kind of profile do you suggest in general?
Okay, so when you talk about profile, it's best when they like leadership a lot, like Shonali mentioned earlier. So, and anything that you have done at school or beyond. So you have to stretch yourself as much as possible and tell them you're fond of learning, you're fond of exploring, and that's what goes well.
Mm-hmm.
The profile you built over the next 2 years, or actually ideally from class 9 onwards, will give you an edge in any essay you write, in any statement of purpose, and at any interview you are expected to take. So it is always good to enhance your learning. Your learning should be beyond your school curriculum.
Yeah, and I think this certificate should I give? You don't have to give certificates with your application to any university. You just have to present them to your counselor. Your counselor will validate that you have done everything, and that's how the colleges know that you have done certain things beyond school.
This is the school counselor.
Yeah, the school counselor.
Great.
Okay.
Harvard application process for you, that's another question. So Harvard or any other Ivy League college, how tough is how competitive is the process, and what are the additional things required for the admissions?
Okay, it is difficult if you're talking about like in India, you just have one entrance exam or probably just your grades that are required in the final after grade 12. For the US, you require everything from grade 9 onwards. So your final grades in grade 9, 10th, 11th, your midterms of grade 12 with the predicted grades, and as well as your profile, your recommendations, your essays. All this form to complete you. So they look at you in a very holistic way as compared to in India. It's just your final year grades. So the entire package is what is appreciated there. It's a very holistic way of looking at your application.
So they will be, when they're viewing your essays, your extracurricular activities, they're not just looking at things which are written. They're going to look at your commitment. They're going to look at your adaptability. They're going to look at your empathy. So these are the qualities which you need to demonstrate through your activities and in your essays.
Yeah,
They
just
want
wanted
to what a good fit you're going to be on the campus.
just wanted to add to the Ivy League. There is a lot of questions around Ivy League admissions generally. My personal take is that a student has to have a very go-getting attitude, which means that the student has to have an attitude in which they are trying different things. If they are studying science, they also have an aptitude for literature. If they are writing the test, they are not writing it for the idea of just for the heck of it, but there is a reason behind how they are planning their test, how their timeline is, how much time they are dedicating. It's about the overall holistic presentation. School leadership plays a very essential role, and going forward, what you do in the present situation, what we've seen this year is there is a question every college wants to know, every Ivy League wants to know, that how are you working in your community? How are you benefiting or helping the people around you? What kind of humility do you have? So, when we talk about the Ivy League, rather than looking at the bigger picture, which is like the certificates and the grades and the school leadership, there are these small elements which we've seen. And with so many students now towards which have been guided with Collegify's work over the years, we know that your personality, it has to have a lot of you need to have a very strong ability to demonstrate things that you are heading for bigger things in life. You are going to be the next big talk. So application is that area in which you spend time. As an Indian applicant, mostly I meet students in grade 12 and they say that, hey sir, now we have 15 days, we have 15-20 days, 2 months in hand, let's do the essays. I think essay development is a part by part process, and you need to have all kinds of interesting ideas. I mean, I've also done an essay where a student has spoken about how he was impacted by Salman Khan Hur Hur Dabang, and the whole essay is about that Dabang movie Salman Khan, right? That is a common app essay, and how he adapts that towards his goals, and how he becomes more goal oriented as an individual. Now, what will impact who is very subjective, right? So you need to have a very openness, and you need to really do your research. Unfortunately, we are not looking at colleges beyond Ivy League. I think there's a whole world, a new world of college which has opened beyond Ivy League. For example, Swarthmore, Claremont McKenna, Amherst College. These days, billions. These are as good as an Ivy League. But how? Research, we are not looking enough. So it is about self-introspection, and it is about for you to be able to look enough and find the right fit. And ultimately, it's not about going to Ivy League or a non-Ivy League. You should think about a college which is the right fit.
Perfect. Thank you so
Another
much.
thing I would like to add here
Yes.
is when you talk about Indian colleges, the top 5 are really great quality. You have a lot of respect for the IITs, the BITS. But when you talk about colleges in US especially, top 100 colleges would have Nobel laureates teaching you. So that's the difference we are talking about. So there institutes offer quality education, even which we think are beyond Ivy, where should I go? But no, they really offer very good research opportunities, very good professors. So that is a very big advantage.
Fantastic. All right. Let's see if we have a few more questions. Anushri is asking, what does the application to UC is different? How is the application to UC is different?
Okay, the UC application is it's much earlier. The deadline is on the 30th of November. So the application is open from 1st to 30th November, and that's when you have to submit. And it is the form is different. Okay, normally you have a common application for about 800 colleges to the US. But UC, it is a different form. It goes to 8 UCs. You can apply to all 8 or 3, 4, how many ever you would pick up. And you have to answer 4 questions out of the 8 prompts that they give you. The other thing is they do not require recommendation letters. And this year they have said they will not look at the SAT ACT.
So one thing, just adding on to the UC bit, right? UC is a very academic kind of a college environment, and they're not asking for too many things. Neither they are asking, like Shalu said, they're not asking for letter of recommendation, nor they are asking for, additional elements. So academic enrichment is very essential. And you need to show in an UC application that, you are somebody who's going beyond that school textbook. For example, if you say that you're interested in commerce or you're interested in physics, have you gone beyond your school curriculum? Have you worked with a professor? Have you written to a professor? So UCs is looking for more students with intellectual, intelligence, who have sort of done things beyond school from the school curriculum point of view.
I just want to add one point. Though we mentioned the form does not have space for, your extracurricular activities in detail, but UCs have been known to contact the school counselor to find out whether you have done or taken an exam which you said you have. So don't think you can just put anything and nobody will. US colleges spend months looking through your applications. They have teams of 40 to 50 people who have just a small region under their belt, and they really, look through your application with a magnifying glass. And the most important element is something they believe in is an honor code. In the sense, nobody's checking. When you take exams there, you can take it almost anywhere. But they want to inculcate this bit in you. And if it sounds that you've done too many things in a 24-hour day, they will definitely get back to your school counselor to validate all your activities.
Yep. And that I think stands true for most of the colleges, that they value honesty and candor over everything else. So the idea is not to stand out as the best person on the planet, but somebody who is very genuine and somebody who can actually really make a difference. So thank you so much, Shalu and Sonali and others, for taking us through those questions. Students, you would have seen in your chat box, there's a link that's been posted. So Mindler and Collegify bring to you the SAT and ACT preparation courses. So you can click on the link which is presented in the chat box. There must be a link which says bit.ly/2ps. There's a link which has been posted by Raghavendra Shenoy. And there's an offer which is already being showcased to you, which is a creative. Now, many students also struggle with the fact whether they should take ACT or which they should take SAT, because both the exams are slightly different from each other. So this diagnostic will be able to help you figure out which of these examinations is more your type. And if you pursue this particular examination, these are going to be the areas of concern and areas of strength for you. So welcome you all to please go ahead and click on that link and take a free diagnostic for yourself, so that you are better able to make a choice between your test preparation and the choice of your test. If there are any further questions that you want to be able to ask Mindler or Collegify professionals, you could please write to us at hello@mindler.com, and we will ensure that your questions reach the right point of contact. Thank you again so much for coming up online.
I just had one last bit of advice for the students. The sort of, So guys, the test which, the Mindler team has posted, this is one of its kind in the world. There is no other test like this test, which allows you to use performance analytics. You can play around, you can see each question, you can see time taken per question, and the entire SAT ACT tool which we built is not just video driven, but it actually uses machine learning. And we are also incorporating lessons, coaching. There are live lessons Monday to Friday, which is getting offered. So this is made, with the mindset and data of over 50,000 students from 9 countries who have sort of worked with Collegify, and we've sort of worked with them to understand what are the pain point area, and we've sort of brought everything together. Each Sunday, we are also bringing international tutors like Dr. Andreas, who's an Oxford and Cambridge tutor. He does workshops and sessions with students, and there are a lot of tools and a lot of personalized supporting mechanics which can enhance. For example, there is a score predictor, which the more you practice, the better awareness you will get. After teaching for 10 years, after being a mentor, after getting all the awards from large recognized institutions, my only point is that whether it's in SAT or a ACT is anyways online. You need to have an online system. The Indian mindset, before we think about it, before we think about a problem, we immediately go to a solution that, okay, if I need to study economics, let's find a tutor. If I need to find a college, let's find a college counselor. If we want to do, that health enablement is very high. So anything you want, and immediately the support system sort of checks in. Standardized test preparation, it is totally dependent on individual skill set. I cannot say that if you are a student who's a weak student, you come to my platform and you'll change. That is not the right promise to make. The right promise to make is that this system will allow free learning, and it will make your life 100 times more productive, because you will be able to spot your mistake. If you do a mock test, you will get to understand the areas of your concern. And apart from that, you are getting live tutoring support with the available for 1 year. So if you do try the system, you'll get an idea of what the kind of UI UX is. Over 800 students have reported an 800 on 800 in the critical reading section from various countries. So there are small tools like weekly quizzes, which you can engage for just 30 minutes a week. And we are saying, and the bold promise is that if you make 60% of the platform, you will improve by 200 or 250 points. There are enough testimonials on the platform for you to go and try out. So you can try the session for free and then decide whether you want to use the Collegify Mindlab platform.
Absolutely, Adarsh. I think that makes for a lot of strength. So Mindler has always been committed to making careers happen for people, and with Collegify on board, we already feel much stronger in our aspiration. Thank you so much, students, for coming online to this amazing webinar that we had with professionals from Collegify. Thank you, Shalu, Sonali, and others for making out time and helping students with respect to their queries. We look forward to more sessions with you.
Thank you.
A very good evening, everyone. Please take care of yourself.
Yeah.
All the very, very best, and we'll connect another time. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
How do you